Hello and welcome back here to another episode of Vintage Glamour. I'm your host Key Michel and welcome back here to the show. So what's going on everyone? I'm very happy to be back here with you all for another episode. And I wanted to make this episode and allow me to reintroduce myself type of episode. I understand that there are some new people to the podcast and some new people to the Key to Fashion brand. So shout out to you all. I'm very, very, very happy that you all have joined this community. And I wanted to give you all an opportunity to get to know a little bit about me, as well as a little bit about why I wanted to even do Vintage Glamour in the first place. So let's start off with a little bit about me. So my name is Kiana Michelle, but everyone calls me Key. My dad's side actually calls me Kiki. My mom's side still pretty much calls me Kiana, my first name, and some people call me Key on my mom's side as well. But everybody else, like friends, everybody, that lives in the city, my professors, everybody calls me Key. So I'm very, 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 very used to Key. To the point when sometimes when people do say my first name, I'm like, oh, my first name? I'm like, okay, you got my attention. You know what I'm saying? You got my attention. But yeah, so I'm from Boston, Massachusetts, born and raised. I am first generation American. My mom is from Trinidad, and my dad is from Haiti. And I would say that being first generation American does play a huge factor in who I am, and I would say also why I go so hard when it comes to what I'm doing. And I think, when you're first generation American, some people will say, oh, like the hustle is different. The hustle is different. And I would say, like, I won't say necessarily like, the hustle is different. Like we work harder than everybody else because you don't want to put yourself on any sort of pedestal at all. I don't think that's right. I would say the hustle is different in terms of the fact that you're like constantly reminded every day that your family isn't from this country and that they came here for you to, achieve something and to make something of yourself. I would say that is what makes the hustle different, is the fact that every day you are reminded in some way or form that your family isn't from this country. Like your family isn't from here. And, you got to keep pushing forward and remain very, resilient and determined when it comes to chasing your dreams. So that's what I would think makes the hustle different. It's just a constant reminder that your family isn't from here, and it could be a lot of pressure. I wouldn't say it's something to really brag about either. It's a lot of pressure, having that constant reminder that your family isn't from here because you want to be successful and you want to make sure you succeed, not only to make yourself proud and to fulfill your purpose, right, in life, but to really also make your family proud as well. So, that's definitely something that, stays with me throughout my days and is a huge factor in why I, definitely go so hard in terms of chasing my dreams. But let me continue on before I go on a long tangent about that. What else can I say about myself? I am a Pisces. I am on the borderline of Aquarius Pisces. So some people will say it's like the cusp, even though I know some people are like, oh, we don't believe in cusp. Cusps don't exist. Well, I mean, some calendars literally say I'm the last day of Aquarius, and some calendars say I'm the first day of Pisces season. So growing up, I had no idea what I was. Like, people would be like, oh, I'm a this, I'm a that. And I would be like, I don't know. Like, some calendars say I'm an Aquarius, some calendars say I'm a Pisces. But I would say that I'm a Pisces. I definitely have, I have some Aquarian influence. I have other Aquarian placements in my chart for people that are more so into the whole aspect of astrology, like the birth charts and such and such. But I would say I'm a Pisces. I'm also a full moon baby, meaning that my moon sign is the opposite sign of Pisces, so it's in Virgo. So I'm an interesting person, I would say. Pretty balanced woman, but definitely unique, pretty eccentric in my own way, and definitely march to the beat of my own drum. And I think, I definitely want, when it comes to key to fashion, for people to really be inspired to do that as well, to be able to march to the beat of their own drum when it comes to their own personal styles as well as their personal lives. Because, even on Vintage Glamour, as you all know that you all have been tuning into the show since I started it, I do talk a lot about fashion and resale fashion, but I also dive into lifestyle content and personal growth, because I personally really do believe that they both go hand in hand. And I also studied psychology in undergrad. And I studied psychology in undergrad because of the fact that I just didn't know what to major in. I really wanted to go to fashion school. But, as I mentioned before, I'm first generation American. And when you're first generation American, fashion is just far from, a profession that any of your family members could ever imagine you, going into. You're not an engineer, you're not a nurse or a doctor, you're not a lawyer. It's like, fashion, what is that? So I definitely was, encouraged, and, definitely hardcore encouraged to go to a 4-year university, and I enjoyed it. I definitely did, but going into it, I had no idea what to major in. I had no idea that I could even go in undeclared, and I was referred to go into undergrad as a psychology major just after having several conversations with my guidance counselor. She said, "You know what, Key, I think you would be excellent and when it comes to studying psychology. I think you should study psychology." And I had no idea what psychology was at all, but I definitely enjoyed the major. But, also around that time frame, I did want to double major in media as well, in journalism. But you had to come into the university with it already being declared as a major. You couldn't just switch in at all. So that was a bummer. You know what I mean? It was definitely a bummer. So I just, after, trying to find, other, majors to double major, and I said, you know what, I'm just going to minor in African American studies and have psychology as my major. And so, psychology, you really learn a lot about not only why people do the things that they do, but the human mind, and I'm very observant by nature, but I would say that degree has made me even more observant and has made me really, I would say, really empathetic when it comes to not only the human experience, but personal growth as a whole. And I would say empathetic because I know that personal growth is something that's really, really hard for a lot of us to achieve in life. Growth isn't easy. If it was easy, we would all do it, right? So, I think it's so important when it comes to these episodes for me to share that aspect of my psychology major and that aspect of personal growth and lifestyle content, within these episodes. You know what I'm saying? I really, really, really do. And I also have realized that those are the episodes that you all truly gravitate towards the most. And I'm really actually proud about that because, I really think it's important to share whatever insight you have, because you never know, or your story, because you never know who it can truly impact, who it can truly empower, and who it can truly inspire. So a little bit more about me. Let's see. I love French fries. I'm absolutely obsessed with French fries, man. Guys, I eat French fries like every week. That was like the first food I ever cried for. I love French fries. I definitely have to cut down on them, though, and find some way to probably make some vegan French fries. I'm not a vegan yet, but I definitely have been thinking of going into veganism as well and just changing my eating habits, and just changing my diet to eat better. I'm a very adventurous woman. I absolutely love to have fun. I love to spend time with family and friends. I love to seek new adventures. I love to travel. I love to laugh and have fun. I love to just be, in joyful moments, around joyful people. I love that energy. Of course, life has its ups and downs, but I love to just be very high vibrational and happy And even during the down moments, I really try my hardest to practice gratitude, because gratitude is always what brings me back on my feet. You know what I mean? It reminds me, you know what? You got a lot to be grateful for. No matter what's going on around you, you have a lot to be grateful for. But I absolutely love to have fun. I love to seek adventures. I love to socialize and meet new people. I'm very, very, very extroverted. But I also have my introverted moments where I like to stay to myself just to recharge my energy, and get one with myself, think about my new ideas even more, think about how much I'm growing or my next steps. So being one with yourself and being to yourself is also very necessary, whether you're introverted or extroverted, I believe. But I'm definitely an extroverted person. I would say more so than introverted person. I'm definitely an extroverted person. But it doesn't matter what you are, whether you're introverted or extroverted. I think that, we all matter. I think the society, the American society, kind of makes it seem like you have to be extroverted, but you really don't. Just be whatever you want to be. Most of my friends actually are introverted people, and they're amazing. So be whoever you want to be. What else can I say about myself here? What else can I say? Oh, well, I was raised an only child. I say raised as an only child because I have siblings on my dad's side. I'm one of four on my dad's side, and I'm an only child on my mom's side. And so I would say being an only child on my mom's side and being the oldest on my dad's side has taught me a lot about leadership. You know what I mean? And I think, that is definitely a role that is needed, in several different facets of my life, especially entrepreneurship. You definitely have to be some type of leader, whether it's like, your own form of leadership, because I do believe we have our own forms of leadership. So you definitely have to be some type of leader when it comes to being an entrepreneur. But I would say that being an only child and being an older sibling, is definitely a unique experience as well. I would say, being raised as an only child, I didn't think anything of it until, other people around me would kind of make me feel like an alien for being an only child. Almost like, oh my gosh, you're an only child? Like, this was like the weirdest thing to be. But I knew other people that were only children. Like, my grandmother was also an only child. And she was like, not only phenomenal, but she was so popular. And there's like a lot of these stereotypes about only children. Like, we're not, social beings, or, we don't know how to get along with other people, or we're spoiled. And it's really interesting because I would say, I wasn't spoiled when it came to gifts. I was spoiled when it came to love. I had a lot of just love around me. I came from, great people from both sides of my family. But there's a lot of only children that weren't spoiled by love. You know what I mean? Look at Oprah. Oprah was raised as an only child. She has siblings on her mom's side, but she was raised as an only child as well. And she wasn't spoiled with gifts, and she wasn't spoiled with love either. You know what I mean? There's a lot of people that are only children that I know, that I have as friends, that went through a hard time as children. And I think that, when we create these stereotypes, it really hinders us from really getting to know not only the person at hand, but their true experience. There's a lot of people that didn't have this glamorous childhood just because they're only children. There's a lot of people that experience a ton of profound loneliness, actually, from, being an only child and dealing with the things that they had to deal with on their own, right? So, no, I would say, it was really outside people that made me feel really weird about it. It made me feel like an alien. But I think in hindsight, looking back on that, I think that's why I am who I am today. And what I mean by that, why I just truly march to the beat of my own drum. I'm kind of used to being viewed as different, and I also don't mind being viewed as different, because we're all different and we all came on this earth to be our own, person and our own individual selves, right? So, You don't want to shine someone else's light when you only have one life to live. You really want to shine your own light onto this world, and shine your own gifts onto this world, right? So, I think that, that experience really has just taught me, it's more than okay to be, who you are. And, you came on this earth just the way you are. And that is perfect. You don't have to try to rearrange yourself to be a perfect being, your imperfect self is just perfect enough, right? So, I think I definitely would say being, raised as an only child and being an older sibling has definitely played a role in terms of like, me, marching to the beat of my own drum, but also me being a leader. What else can I share with you all? Let's see, what else can I share with you all? What about fashion? Well, as many of you all know, I've been into fashion since I was 15 years old. Even a little bit before that. But I first found my personal style when I was 15 years old. Before that, yeah, I was into fashion, but I was into everybody else's fashion, just following what everybody else was wearing. Around that time frame, I also went to predominantly white schools. And why I state that is because there was a lot more designer wear that was being worn at those predominantly white schools. So like 7 jeans was really in, True Religion jeans was really in, Lacoste shirts was really in, designer handbags was really in, you know what I mean? So all that sort of stuff, one, I really couldn't really afford at that time frame, and two, it really wasn't even my swag. It really wasn't. I just was following what everybody else was wearing. It was like, oh, like, you got the Lacoste shirt? And, I gotta get my Lacoste shirt, too. You got the 7 jeans on? Then I gotta get my 7 jeans, too. Knowing that, I'm like, this is really not my swag. But it's like, hey, like, if everybody else is wearing it, then I gotta wear it, too, right? But listen, like, the more I was, like, trying my hardest to, dress like how everybody else was dressing and wear what everybody else was wearing, I just felt completely lost in my style, man. I felt lost. You just feel this feeling of like, who am I? You know what I mean? And what am I doing? Because this isn't me. Like everything I'm putting on right now isn't me. And so I said to myself, you know what? I'm gonna just try to find my own personal style and start, wearing what I want to wear. And, as I started to do that, there was some people that were, rocking with the new look. But then there was a lot of people that would talk a lot of trash. When I would walk in the hallways, they would be like, oh, what is she wearing? Oh, she doesn't even match. Or what is she wearing? Because, back in the day, you had to match your Jordans from head to toe. And I didn't wear Jordans. And I definitely wasn't matching from no head to toe. I was meshing my looks, which is something I still do from now till modern day. I still mesh my looks. I never match from head to toe. I'm a mesher. I like to mesh different styles together, different colors together, different prints together. I'm a mesher. You know what I mean? I love to do that. So I wasn't mashing like that back in the day. So, that was a big thing. People are like, oh, what is she wearing? You know what I mean? What is she doing? And what's interesting is that, the more people talked about my style, the more I knew I was doing something right. And I just, kept going at it to the point by the time junior year came around, my personal style was my safe haven, and it was a staple. Like, everybody knew me for my personal style. People would even ask my boyfriend at the time, oh, where did Key get her backpack? Where did Key get her this and that? Where did Key get... You know what I mean? Like, I had this unique zebra print backpack. It was fire. This JanSport backpack. Everybody had the JanSports back in the day. I had this unique zebra print backpack. It was fire. It was fire. With my little, like, what was it? Those pins you would put on your backpack, my unique pins and stuff. But it was interesting because people started to ask, where is she getting her clothes from? Where is she getting her backpack from? Where does she get her shoes from? And I was, just before that, getting made fun of for all the things I was wearing. And I share this story with people because, I really want people to not only, feel that feeling that teenager Key had, but to know it is more than okay to walk down your own path, your own journey, and to truly march to the beat of your own drum. Like, listen, like, in this lifetime of yours, there are going to be people that are not going to be comfortable or okay with you marching to the beat of your own drum. You know what I'm saying? There are going to be a lot of people that are just not going to be okay with it, because we live in a world that, really, really tries its hardest to, make a lot of people conform. As much as people like to be like, oh, I'm different, I do my own thing, a lot of people really don't do their own thing. A lot of people aren't really as different as they claim to be, because they really haven't tapped in to their uniqueness, because the world really does not make it safe for people to want to tap into their own uniqueness, right? Once people start to branch off and try to do their own thing, oftentimes they get made fun of for doing their own thing, right? So it makes people say to themselves, okay, why am I going to branch out and do my own thing if people are making fun of me? Like, you know what I mean? Why am I going to do that? But expect people to talk. You know what I'm saying? Expect people to talk. And that's how you know you're doing something right. You know what I mean? So, if I had said to myself back then, like, dang, people are really talking, I'm about to stop doing this. You know what I mean? I don't want to find my own personal style. I'm about to just wear what everybody else is wearing. I wouldn't be here today. I wouldn't have done Key to Fashion today. I wouldn't have had all these amazing experiences of, finding my own personal style, or, getting these amazing fashion internships. You know what I mean? Or, hosting fashion shows in college. I wouldn't have, gained those amazing experiences, all right? So, I really, really think it's so important for you all to, realize it's more than okay to march to the beat of your very own drum. It's more than okay to march to the beat of your very own drum. And hold on one second, you all. I just have to take a sip of water. Sorry about that, you all. When you have a raspy and low voice, um, you definitely gotta have your water. You gotta have your water on deck. But yeah. So I want people to feel that feeling of, like, it's more than okay to branch off and to do my own thing. It's more than okay for me to embrace my own personal style. It's more than okay for me to embrace my own uniqueness. It's more than okay, right? So yeah, I've loved fashion for a while, and in college, even when I was in college for psychology, I absolutely still loved fashion, to the point I was like, you know what? I still gotta upgrade my style while I'm here. I still gotta figure out what I'm gonna do when it comes to fashion while I'm here. I gotta figure out, where my true purpose in fashion lies. Like, I knew I loved fashion, but I just was like, but where do I fit in this field? I'm not, back then I wasn't really someone that, liked too much of high-end fashion, and I didn't like the superficialness of fashion, like how things could be really, like, superficial at times. Commenting on people's body frames and stuff like that. I didn't like that. You know what I mean? I wanted it to be more community oriented. And so, I started thrifting because I was referred to thrift by a friend. I was, like, very much so like, wait, what? Like, thrifting? Like, what the heck? Like, what am I going to do there? Like, what am I going to find at the thrift store? But luckily, I'm a very open-minded person. So I said, you know what? If my friend keeps referring me, I'm going to go. And listen, like, I'm so glad that I went, because I started going every weekend, to the point I know the employees are looking at me like, dang, she's here again. I would go every week, like every Wednesday. Every week I would take that bus, go around the corner, because, listen, the Salvation Army wasn't even far from the school campus, and it was really, really, really nice, because I was in the boonies. I went to UMass Amherst, for anybody that is familiar with that college. I went to UMass Amherst, so there was a dope Salvation Army. There was a Goodwill and a Salvation Army, right around the corner, and some other different, like, mom and pop shops that sold dope vintage stuff as well. But the Salvation Army, listen, that was always a hit, never a miss, baby. And I was in there all the time to make sure that I could get my little 50% off discount when, they have certain tags that are 50% off. Man, I got some gems from that Salvation Army that I still wear till this day. So, thrifting, it really allowed me in college to stay on the cutting edge of, number one, my personal style, but number two, fashion. I knew for a fact, I'm like, nah, like, this is definitely going to be huge in the next couple of years. Like, I just was always saying to myself, like, thrifting, I know a lot of people probably aren't doing it now, but I'm like, in the next few years, this is going to be booming. And look what's happening now. It's booming. And I know, although some people, like, kind of want to, like, be the first to thrift. Some people kind of want a trophy for that. Like, I've been thrifting for like 58 years, or I've been thrifting for 79 years. It's kind of like, who cares? And I don't mean it in a rude way, but it's like people kind of tend to say that because they have an issue with a lot of people thrifting now, and it's like, well, we should want more people to thrift. We should want more people to learn more about this realm of fashion, right? Like, I've been thrifting for a long time, but I'm still super excited when other people love to thrift. Or I love thrifting with a friend that's never been thrifting before, and they end up loving it. You know what I mean? Like, there's some people that don't know what they love or don't know what they like until they try it out. You know what I mean? We're all constantly learning more about ourselves each and every single day. So just similar to myself, being a sophomore in college, I loved fashion, and I used to go to flea markets in New York growing up as a kid with my mom, right? But I never thrifted before until I was a sophomore in college. And so I discovered a newfound love in the fashion realm, right? So there's probably people just like me that are really into fashion, but now they're discovering a newfound love, a new realm of fashion that they really, really, really love and they really appreciate and enjoy. So, I kind of feel like when people are like, oh, like, I've been thrifting for so long and kind of want to be like the thrifting police. It's like, oh, allow people to thrift, allow people to do what they want to do. So, yeah, I think that's a little bit about me, a little bit about my journey. I definitely want you all to learn more about me just along the way. And, just along the journey. I think that, I don't want to, I'm looking like at the time, like, I think this is enough. I didn't want to make this an hour of me just talking about myself. You know what I mean? I like to, definitely remain very humble. And I wanted to just give people an opportunity to just get to know a bit about me because, like I stated in the beginning of this podcast episode, that there are a lot of new people that are new to the show and new to the brand. So I wanted to give them a bit of who Kiana Michel is and let you all know a bit of who I am. And also I mentioned why Vintage Glamour. Why am I doing Vintage Glamour? Why is this about? So I'm going to share that with you all as well before I wrap the episode up. So why Vintage Glamour? So what's interesting is, like, I always was trying to find a way to merge media and resale fashion together. I was always trying to find a way, and the name Resale Fashion Media came to me. And I'm like, that's really interesting. It came to me. But then I'm like, should I do a magazine? Should I do this? Should I do that? So, I was really trying to figure out what I should exactly do in terms of merging resale fashion and media together. And also around that time frame, this was in 2020, I had created a survey, and I wanted people to take this survey to kind of let me know, like, how they're feeling about the brand and what are some new ideas I should implement. And someone said, oh, you should have like a show where you interview other, like, resellers or other entrepreneurs in the field or thrift bloggers. You should interview just people in the field or share your own insight. And I'm like, that's really, really, really interesting. And at that time frame, I had my own podcast, but it wasn't, within Key to Fashion. It was actually just separate. I had another podcast that I was doing. And I'm like, you know what? I'm like, that's actually like a really, really good idea. A really good idea. So it allowed me to really start thinking about, all right, what name should I do? And it allowed me after that to really start thinking about what direction I should go into. Resale Fashion Media, like, what should I do? So the name, what's so really interesting is that Vintage Glamour was actually on my vision board. I found it in a magazine, and I remember saying, "Oh, I like that," and I just put it on my vision board. But I had no idea what it would be for. I just was like, "Oh, I like that Vintage Glamour. I like the sound of that," and I just cut it out and I stuck it on my vision board. So when I was thinking of names, I had two names that came to my mind: Vintage Glamour and Vintage Tings. And I said, well, I like the sound of Vintage Tings, but I'm like, I can make that like a event, a name for an event, right? I'm like, although I'm like Caribbean, I didn't want the brand to be like too Caribbean. You know what I mean? Because everybody that follows Key to Fashion isn't Caribbean. So I was like, I don't want it to be too Caribbean. You know what I'm saying? Having tings and every, after everything, right? So I'm like, I loved Vintage Glam. I loved the sound of it. I was like, that has a really nice ring to it. And I kind of started to practice, oh, hello, welcome back to another episode of Vintage Glamour. And I'm like, oh, I like that, baby. So I'm like, you know what? Yeah, I'm going to do Vintage Glamour. And the next thing you know, as I was doing the show and I first started out doing it on IG Live, and then I ended up, started to do it via a podcast and also have episodes on YouTube. But I really wasn't intending to do that at first. I was going to just keep it on IG Live, but my Instagram app literally stopped working, and it just started working this week, you all. When I say it just started working back this week, it just started working this week. So I probably will end up doing some lives again, because I found that was a great way to connect with you all, and you all really enjoy the lives. But I definitely will be building up the show more so on YouTube. As well. I just think video is not only taking over in the next few years, but I just think video is really just much better for the Vintage Glamour show. Although I know people really also enjoy the podcast episodes, because maybe you all are driving or cooking or just doing whatever you're doing, right? And you're able to listen to the show. I know that there's still like a lot of people that still would rather the video content. So I'm still going to be doing both, but I'm definitely going to, moving forward, focus a lot more on the video content. But yeah, so anyways, like I was saying, I was like cleaning my room one day and I stumbled across my vision board, and I saw the vision board, and I was just looking at it and staring at it. And I saw the name, Vintage Glamour. And I said, oh, what? I'm like, what is that doing there? And I'm like, oh, I did put that on the vision board. I'm like, oh, yeah, like Vintage Glamour. And so I always tell people, some people say, oh, vision boards don't work. And I say, well, whatever you believe will happen. You know what I'm saying? The mind is a very powerful thing. It's a very, very powerful thing. So if you stick those images on your vision board, and you're sticking those visions on your vision board with the intention of this ain't gonna work, then it's not gonna work. Like you already put that intention out there, as well as that energy. But when I create a vision board, I have a wild imagination where I'm like, oh, now this is gonna work. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like I'm like, like it's gonna work. Like this is gonna come to life. And vision boards do work, even if some things come later on. You know what I mean, and it doesn't happen within that year. They still do work. Every prayer or every manifestation doesn't just come in a blink of an eye. You know what I mean, but it always comes right on time. You know what I mean. So, the name was on the vision board, and I realized at that point, oh, I'm aligned. You get what I mean? Like this is supposed to happen. And I have just been really enjoying doing Vintage Glamour. I really have been enjoying doing this show. And what I think is so beautiful is that the fact that one of you all gave me the real catalyst that I needed to even start this by answering that question via that survey. So shout out to whoever did that. I always say that. I think it's just great when, you're really supported by the community. You know what I mean? Like, I think that's great. And I want this to feel like a community more than anything. I want you all to feel that you're a part of something bigger than yourselves. When you tune into Vintage Glamour, and also when you tune in to anything that Key to Fashion is doing, so I really hope to be able to take Vintage Glamour offline moving forward. I'm really just trying to gauge what to do when it comes to this COVID. I know that we have new variants out now, so I'm really trying to gauge what to do here. But I have a lot, essentially what I'm saying is I have a lot of visions moving forward for the show, and I really, really pray to bring a lot of those visions to life. But I really have been enjoying it. I really have been enjoying doing Vintage Glamour. I love the fact that you all find these episodes really, really helpful and supportive. And I really just hope to make the show even better. We're in our first year, so, the first year is really like a trial run for anything, right? So, October will be when the first year really comes to fruition, because we're still in August. So I started this in October. So October is will be the first year of Vintage Glamour. So I'm really excited about that. But, this is just, we're still in the beginning stages, and there's more to come. That's really what I'm trying to tell y'all, is that there's more to come. So I definitely appreciate you all tuning into this show week by week. I appreciate you all giving me episode ideas when I ask for them in the stories. And I also just appreciate that you all feel really comfortable to engage with me. I really, I understand that being online, it can be a little different when it comes to interacting with people, when it comes to getting to know people. But I really want you all to really get to know me, and to really get to know this brand really well, and to really get to know yourselves. You know what I'm saying? Yourselves. And, what it really means to march to the beat of your own drum when it comes to your personal styles and when it comes to your personal life. And, which is why, when it comes to this Vintage Glamour show, we talk a lot about fashion and we talk a lot about lifestyle. But the core of it is that, after each episode, I really want you all to really feel, more comfortable when it comes to being your own selves and when it comes to marching to the beat of your own drum. And that's why I said I really want people to feel that feeling of what, High School Key felt. You know what I mean? When she stepped out on her own to find her own personal style, and when she stepped out on her own to find who she was at that time frame, because that was a very prominent moment in my development of who I am today, right? And, looking back on that moment, the symbolism of it was, it is so important to march to the beat of your own drum in life. It's so rewarding to march to the beat of your own drum in life. And I feel like my mission with Key to Fashion is to really inspire you all to do just that, to march to the beat of your own drum, to embrace your own individuality, to embrace your own uniqueness, and to know that it's more than okay. And I really, really hope that, throughout this journey that you all are rocking with me, I really hope that you all feel that, you feel that energy. And you really feel, it is more than okay for me to be me. It is more than okay for me to be me. Every day that you wake up, always remember that. It is more than okay for you to be you. No one else can do you like you do. You got to think about that. Nobody in this world, and if you've grown up with people, making you feel like you wasn't good enough, whether it's in your personal life, whether it's people outside of you, that made you feel that way. Listen, people in this lifetime love to put their insecurities on other people. So don't allow people's projections of their own insecurities, hinder you from being who you came on this earth to be. People love to put their projections on other people, you all. They love to do that. I'm telling you, they love to do that. So if people have made you feel like you wasn't good enough, do not allow people's insecurities that they have of not feeling good enough make you feel like you're not good enough. Make you feel like, you can't just be who you are. Be whoever you want to be. Be yourself. Love yourself. Embrace yourself. and take life day by day. Take life day by day, day by day. So you all, that's a little bit about me. That's a little bit about Vintage Glamour, the show. And like I said, there's more to come. As we continue on with Vintage Glamour, and you all just keep rocking with the show and keep rocking with the Key to Fashion brand. You all are going to learn more about me just along the way. You all are going to really learn about Key to Fashion along the way, but most importantly, you all are going to learn a lot about yourselves. And that is truly the mission behind the brand and behind the show. So with that being said, you all, I really, really, as always, appreciate you all tuning into the show. Do not forget to like, share, and subscribe to the YouTube channel. This isn't going to be on the YouTube platform today. It's going to be on the podcast streams, but I am going to put it on the YouTube platform later on this week when I figure out how to put podcast streaming services on YouTube. There's a way for you to do that, but I got to figure it all out. But still, like, share, and subscribe to the YouTube channel. I had to put that out there because I know it can be annoying when people tell you to do that, but I really want you all to start following the YouTube platform because I'm going to be building it. And I really want you all to, join that community or over there. So definitely head on over to the YouTube channel and like, share, and subscribe to the YouTube channel. And so with that being said, you all, thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of Vintage Glamour. And I hope you all have a great one. Bye now.